there is a certain level of apathy or what I'll call people not caring about what happens elsewhere. If you've been monitoring the international news media, there's this thing happening in Myanmar, the Rohingya Muslims. Yeah. And you would notice that it is only Al Jazeera that is giving good coverage of this thing. And the Western media in general are not showing any concern, as a matter of fact. And that's exactly what we are seeing with these comments. Who cares? Now, you don't care when it doesn't affect you directly. But when it happens so close to you, you know, you tend to care. For example, there was this disaster, there was this terrorist attack in, I think it was in Spain recently.
Yeah.
Barcelona?
Yeah, Barcelona.
No, Barcelona, they are trying to succeed. There was this terrorist attack, and one person was interviewed, and he said, anytime they talk about terrorist attack, he's thinking about it will happen in the UK or France or in the US. But when it happened in Spain, and it happened so close to him, he realized that, no, this thing is real. So it changed his orientation and attitude towards some of these developments.
But isn't it also because they feel that, I mean, some of them that sound like they know something, a little bit about Ghana. Someone, for instance, says, breaking news. And for him, the breaking news is that there's actually petrol at the petrol station in Ghana.
No, he was just being sarcastic or playing upon words.
Yes, perhaps he has been to Ghana before. Maybe gone to a fuel station where they said there's no fuel or something like that. It boils down to our attitude and how serious we are with ourselves as a nation, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is exactly what it is. And so that kind of attitude, you can even bring it to bear within our own setup where things are happening and people don't show concern. There was, interestingly, we are also at a season where there is flooding and so on. I've seen people being taken away by flood waters, and others are taking their phones and taking videos of the incident without showing any concern to rescue people. You have noticed that trend, that things are happening and people are taking their phones and taking pictures.
And that's part of the questions that I was going to engage you on after we have dealt with this international thing. But maybe let's just assume that we've done justice in the international bit. And I don't know, let me just get your thought on whether you think it's been reported, because one of the mistakes that, one of the things we've accused international media of doing is misrepresentation and misreporting things that happen here. Yeah. Do you feel that they have done justice, their headlines and the content, the videos, etc., the timing within which they've put these stories up? Is there something that gives you a better feeling about how we're being covered by the international
Yes, I think in
community?
real-time coverage, they did well, but it was reported. If this happened somewhere in Europe or in America, you will see live coverages, live coverage. They'll be streaming live. But because it happened in Africa, or maybe there are competing stories somewhere else, you know. So that's what I'm saying. They have done well by giving us the report, the international media. They've covered at least the initial phase. Okay. And when it happened.
Right. Now let's talk about people taking videos. And it appears that right now the first instinct of people when they get to into such a situation is to take out their phone and record what's happening. Yeah. But it's a very good thing, because then we wouldn't know how it happened, what happened, and it helps with investigations going forward. But then what do you think is really happening with this trend where people are more focused? I understand there was someone who had a phone and was taking a video, and then the fire caught up with him.
Yes, it is something that is creeping into our system where we stay a bit aloof, you know, off the incident and want to put it on our phone and then share it and tell our friends that, oh, I was there some. There was an incident where somebody was run over by a train, a moving train, apparently because he was so engrossed in his phone that he didn't know, with an earpiece. You see a lot of people with earpieces and so on. Was so much engrossed that he didn't even hear the sound of a train coming, ran him over at Asaprochona. So it is a trend that has gripped us where everybody is on the phone doing one thing or the other.
Is the media to blame somehow for perhaps making it Because sometimes some videos go viral. Sometimes
Yes.
you see some of these videos being used by media organizations and crediting the people, the sources, those who took the photos. And so you have there's a certain motivation to take pictures rather than be there to help or to even stay away from the danger.
Right. If you have a cutlass and you go to the farm, you will use the cutlass, won't you? If you have a phone that has those features, you want to explore. So smartphones, everybody has it. Everybody has a smartphone. So you're going and something is happening. Your first instinct is, let me take shots of it and share.
Is that okay with you as
It's
someone
right.
who has been in the business for a long time? I mean, I'm sure things are way different from how it used to be when you were in your heydays.
Yeah, we were using pagers. You did know pager? Yeah, no, a pager is that it's a gadget, small gadget that you can. It's like you sending text messages.
Okay.
And you put it around your waist and it beeps and it's so. I mean, you're hip. You know those days.
So
yeah.
things were obviously very different how it was done then.
Yeah.
As to compared with how is done now.
Right.
Is it your final comments on this for the better or for worse?
No, I think it's good. It's good because now we're encouraging what we call citizen journalism, right? So
that's a big debate.
Yes, it is a big debate, but it's a good thing so that you know what is happening, especially those of us in the news business. With all these TV stations, radio stations, we are competing, running over each other to get a story first and be able to establish its accuracy.
Right.
You know, so if we get citizen journalists sending pictures to us, we appreciate it.
Okay.
You know, so it is good, but sometimes we overstretch it, the usage of it. Even those of us who have family at home, and it happened even in my own setting. I was at home with the kids, and all four of us, everybody had a phone.
Nobody was talking.
Nobody was talking for a long time, and I had to let out a big yell, and then everybody was like, "Oh, are you okay? What is happening?" Meanwhile, they were all talking amongst themselves. You understand? So it is a good thing that the technology is helping us to uncover things. But sometimes we have to draw the line where if you saw somebody drowning, instead of trying to save the person, people are rather taking pictures and sharing.
Right.
So that's the downside of
Okay.
it. But
Okay.
generally positive.
Okay. So having spoken about that, let's look at finally on this conversation because there's still some other issues that happened over the on Friday. There was a downpour, a heavy downpour that we understand claimed about 6 lives in Kumasi. We'll bring you that story and then we'll have a conversation about that. We want to find out if you have any, those of you whose family were missing or unaccounted for, have you found them? Is there any critical information that you need to share with us? We're trying to work out something and see if it's possible for us to open our phone lines for you to give us a call. But before that, let's listen to what the president has said. Former President John Mahama has spoken. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has also spoken. I'm going to have you look at them, even though we've been playing them since morning, just so we refresh your thoughts about it. And then when we come, we'll look at Twitter and look at the kind of comments that have come, you know, on the back of what the president, the former president, have been tweeting.
On Monday, I've been to the Upper West, I've been to the Upper East, and since Friday, I've been here. For me, from where I stand, it has been a good visit. But it was marred by the news of what happened yesterday in Accra. And so I'm asking you, and I want to join the Dean in asking you to pray for all those who were caught up in the tragedy in Accra yesterday, the deaths and the injured people. We pray for them, we pray for their souls, and we pray for their families, that the Almighty will give them comfort and strength in these trying times. It is time these incidents came to a stop in Ghana. We cannot continue with them. I've asked the Vice President to go back to Accra to see with his own eyes and that of the Minister what has taken place. We are going to have to come out with a clear policy on how to prevent such incidents in the future. Fortunately, Cabinet will be meeting on Thursday, and I believe out of that meeting, the country will know what our program is the comprehensive program that we intend to have to bring such incidents to a stop. What happened yesterday is one too many. We cannot afford anything. I would like everybody involved in the industry to recognize that we will all have to make adjustments to be able to guarantee the safety and the security of our people so these things do not happen again. And I need the support and cooperation of the people of Ghana to make the policies that we'll be bringing out succeed so that such incidents become a thing of the past and not of our future.
On behalf of the President, I would like to extend my condolences to all the bereaved families and also to those who our sympathies to all those who have also been injured and affected. In fact, all of Ghana has been affected. It's a major tragedy, but at the end of the day, this is one too many. This is one too many. This is about the 8th explosion of gas in 3 years. And I think what Ghanaians really want is solid policy to deal with this matter once and for all. We are going to move to deal with it. It's not about committees and committees upon committees and nothing gets done. I think that we owe it to the country, and the government is going to take this very seriously. Discussions were being held last night about the way forward. We wouldn't preempt too many things, but some new policies are going to come in, and those who will try to resist those new policies, I don't think they will be listened to, because it's important for us to put the safety of our people above everything else. And I think it's in the interest of the country that we actually implement some new policy directions. The National Petroleum Authority, the EPA, the Energy Ministry, all of us, Fire Service, they're all going to be involved as we put this new policy together. And we're going to move quite quickly to do it. It's not going to be one that you wait weeks for it to happen. It's going to happen relatively quickly. We pretty much have an idea what we need to do in terms of policy. I'd like, on behalf of the President, to thank our security services. The fire service responded very quickly within 1.5 hours to try to get this under control. The police, the military, NADMO, the health services. It was a major effort, and the disaster could have been much bigger but for their intervention. So we really like, on behalf of the whole country, to thank them most sincerely for their efforts and their continued efforts. As you can see, they continue to try to bring things under control. The site has not been totally brought without any risk. There is still risk, and so they are continuing their work, and we really want to thank them. So we thank you, the press, as well.
We interview. We are coming to speak to you. We are speaking to the Vice President. Yeah. Your Excellency, what kind of briefing have you received?
Well, it's just here at the ICU unit, we have seen 2 victims with relatively severe burns, and they are being taken care of, plastic surgeons and so on. The hospital staff are doing an excellent job, and we just have to thank them for their service. So we are trying to make sure that the victims are well managed and all their medical expenses taken care of and all of that. We are just concerned about their well-being, and that's all. And I guess
are they in a stable condition?
Relatively, but the work, doctors are doing a very, very good job to keep them stabilized. I've been told that with burns victims, the first few days are the most critical, and so they are putting in a lot of effort to stabilize them. Thank you very much.
You went to the other side of the world too. The other side you went. What are they doing? You interacted with them?
Yes, they were doing relatively okay. They are working on them. Some of them are in theater, and they're all being prepared for theater. Some of them have just been taken care of, and they are being observed and being treated. So again, the hospital staff, the doctors, and the nurses are doing an excellent job since last night, and we just thank them for their service.
This may be too early, but can we say this will probably be the last time you're going to witness such an incident? Time to act. We've been talking for a very long time.
Yes, you're right. We've been talking for a very long time, and this is not a time for talking. The president has made his views clear to me, and you are going to see action. Enough of the talking, yes. I agree with you.
Thank you, Excellency. So you heard the Vice President speak to me about.
Okay, so that was the Vice President. That was President Akufo-Addo as well. And well, two key things that perhaps I was looking out for was to find out what has happened between the space of 2 years when we lost over 150 people, and now what has happened. Did anything change in our laws? I'm sure there were laws that regulated that area. Were there any implementation flaws, and did we look at that? Did it work? What has happened between now and then? Because we've had President Akufo-Addo now saying that there's going to be a cabinet meeting on Thursday, and that there are going to be some sort of reforms, and they won't take, any foot in the door sort of thing. Vice President is also talking about a new petroleum policy, and I'm sure that we have all of these already.
Yeah, we do.
So for
we
these,
do have them. We're just going to rehash whatever we had already.
You think so?
Yeah, but what I am looking out for has to do with what the Vice President said when he was coming out of 37 Military Hospital. When he says that the government will foot the bill of all the injured persons. And again, my mind goes back to June 3rd, 2015, when the same rhetoric was heard. And a year or so after, the victims of the 3rd June disaster are still talking about government not taking care of them. Some people had, got help, and I worked with TV3 at the time, and we organized a big, effort at getting help for people, and it was very successful. Now, after that, the pomp and the pageantry associated with it, the TV cameras covering it, now the people go home to go and suffer. They are carrying the scars of that day with them. And then one would have thought that one critical thing under some of these circumstances will be psychological help. When things happen like this, people get traumatized, and it lives with them for the rest of their lives. If you ever got injured or had a car accident, anytime you're driving or you're in a car and there is that kind of feeling that you get that this thing might happen again. And so you need some kind of counseling, to be able to win yourself off those feelings. But we don't get that kind of thing in our part of the world. Because for a disaster like this, if it was somewhere else, they will have counseling units. People who were injured.
I think, in all fairness, there was during the June 3 disaster. There was
to what extent?
Is how long they held it. That I'm not really sure, but there was something, because one of our doctors here, Ninoy, yes, was a part of the team that was giving them some sort of psychological support.
Well, that is fine. That is fine. I saw them too. But what I'm saying is that the attention, the urgency of it, the magnitude of influence that psychological help gives to victims of disasters like this is mostly missing in our part of the world.
Right,
yes.
Right. Okay, let's wrap up this conversation by looking at what former President Mahama tweeted, and I'm going to read that tweet. He says, just so you know, he's not in the country, he's in Liberia at the moment. He's heading the ECOWAS election observer mission there. For their election that's coming on in 2 days. Former President said, "My thoughts and prayers are with the victims and families of those affected by last night's gas explosion at the atomic junction near Medina. I feel their pain." In our own small way, let's all extend a helping hand to all those affected by the sad incident. Let's go down and see if there are any comments. Right after that, we'll go to Kumasi and look at what's happening there. Mahama Ba Roland says, thank you, caring father. Ibo Dazi said, great and magnanimous words. Alexis Sanchez says, you are a hero and a legend who needs to be worshipped. Oh. Ghanaians are grateful to you. Isaac Pencil says, caring dad, thanks. If you look, okay, then here is Ev K. Apia. Says, if you took proper measures, this may not have happened. Okay, so that's the power and beauty of social media. Yeah. It gets you talking directly to the people. But anyway, change the change. That's hashtag change the change. That's the name. They are tweeting at NDC Change Agenda. Says, God bless you. At Opong Ishmael 4, replying JD Mahama says, thanks, Daddy, you are father for all. Okay, so let's quickly flip to President Akufo-Addo's Twitter handle and see what he has been saying as well. As we go into the week, well, let me find out from you, Fred, whilst we look for, do we have President Akufo-Addo? We do. Okay. Okay. So President Akufo-Addo is tweeting at N Akufo-Addo. N Akufo-Addo says, government is resolved now more than ever to ensure such an incident does not occur again. And this is really something that we've heard over and over again, Mr. President. So let's add some action that makes all the difference. Says, I have dispatched the Vice President to the scene of the tragedy this morning. And then he goes on. So he's been tweeting quite a lot. I get the feeling that someone is actually tweeting on his behalf.
That's the point.
That's it, right?
Yeah, the people in the communications team, it's somebody's job to do that.
Because during
the tweeting president of the world, you know who that is, right?
Trump. Trump doesn't share that crown with anybody. Yeah, my deepest condolences to the families of the bereaved, and I wish the injured speedy recovery. A lot of the president, I think we've heard him say a lot. Let's look at a few of the comments that have come on the back of that. Are people excited, happy about what he said? Is that no? Let's go up and look at the comment from the tweets. Okay, we'll get you those. But let me take your wrap-up comments. We've spoken about this quite a lot. Yeah. We've actually been talking about this since morning. And also, I just put the number online as well. We can do a few, maybe 10 minutes, find out from you. Have you found the people you are looking for? Is there any pressing information you want to put across? Let's see if we can use 10 minutes to address that as well. But Fred, your final thoughts on this.
Gifty, I do not expect anything less than or more from what the leaders are saying. I mean, eventually, that is what we expect of them, they will say. But for me, talk is cheap. When you talk, you must walk the talk, right? So it is good that the president said there's going to be a cabinet meeting. When is it tomorrow?
Thursday.
Thursday next week. Yeah. Or this week.
This week on Thursday. So in about the next 4 days.
At that cabinet meeting,
what are your expectations that they bring from that meeting?
I would expect that we will do the checklist like what Duncan said. The committee will be set up to investigate. Now, for me, I want to look beyond the committee and the recommendations. The recommendations will talk about certain things that must be put in place so that these incidents don't recur. These things must be made public. And so for civil society organizations, thank God that civil society organizations are very much alive these days. There's one expert or the other. There's probably we'll have a disaster expert very soon. Nana, this guy, Akwada's organization is what?
That's a team like that actually. Yeah. Akwada, public safety.
Public safety, something like that. So we would expect a lot more talking from them and come out with good recommendations as to what we need.
You expect more talking?
Of course, they'll be talking.
No, but is that what you expect?
Yes, but I'm saying that beyond the talk.
Okay.
Beyond the talk, the recommendations that come out must be implemented. Okay. And for me, when people begin to hold public office holders accountable, for example, if it is established after the investigations that somebody dropped the ball, somebody kept his eyes off the ball in terms of making sure that this tanker...
Somebody slept on the job.
Somebody slept on the job.
Right.
you know, that person, the heads must roll. I mean, when we begin to punish people for doing the wrong things.
Okay, let me take the comment from Twitter on the president's tweet. Let's start with, is this Senior Papa also? Tweeting at Papa Alive. Says, hope this is not just a tweet. Certainly what we're saying as well. Osmanu Amidu is tweeting at Amadu_Osmanu. Says, same thing was said after June 3. And yet again, here we are. At Papa Alive again says, we don't know the kind of governments that govern us. Full of broken promises. Hopefully this will keep them to their word and make sure that they deliver. Osmanu again says, how can God help a people if they don't help themselves? We must and should help ourselves first. And Kennedy Sando, if I'm getting it right, he's tweeting at Honorable Sand Kennedy, says, stop tweeting and work. Tweeting is for idlers. Okay, I'm sure the president is not tweeting, my dear. Sultan Dasariki tweeting as Sadiq1 says, so you are an idler? Shaking my head. See, cheap mind, do you know the comfort his tweet gives some of us? Okay, then you go on and on, which comfort, and there's a banter going on there. Cop says, you wouldn't know what comfort is, guessing from the country you're based. Okay, I don't know exactly what's happening there, but let's see. Final 3 comments. See or tie, like, oh, really? Okay, so clear all gas stations in Osu. Oh, and this is coming from Kobe. Kobe is tweeting at Kobe-Spincho. He's saying that you should clear all gas stations in Osu, because if you've looked at Osu, there are so many filling stations across, and Osu is one crowded place. On a Friday night, you'll be shocked. You won't have a place to, you know, to park your car if you got there a bit late. So this is another interesting angle to the story, I guess. If
anything should happen, especially, let's say, the Oxford Street area, where you have all of those filling stations in that heavily congested area, mostly at night, where revelers come, people are having fun and so on. If any, God knock on wood, if any of such things happen on the Oxford Street, you can imagine the casualty numbers. And then again, talking about the siting of filling stations and how close they are to each other. I think the Accra mayor, in one of the clips that was played on this program, the mayor of Accra was saying that in the West Legon area, that stretch of about a mile, he could count as many as 12 filling stations, and he's right. You know, that area, you wonder how that is happening in that particular area, and it doesn't make economic sense even to the filling station owners. But it looks like there's something in there for them, and even as we speak, there is one that is under construction in the Westlands area. And you wonder why.
Because there's oil in this country, so people are pushing their money into that area, investing into that area. But I think it is crucial for us to begin to look at this trend and look at it carefully. Otherwise, we'll just be, you know, doing the talk shops. We'll sit on TV, sit on radio, have conversations, go to cabinet meeting, have all the conversations and drink tea. And the next day, we'll still have people, we'll still have fuel stations springing up everywhere. Close to you, close to your children, close to schools. We understand that there's a part in Odogono. Just behind Odogono, there's a fuel station there. And it's not like a proper, proper fuel station or senior high school. It's not like a proper, and this was a story that a colleague of mine said he did in 2010 for Africa Watch magazine. And this was in 2010. It was not a proper fuel station. It was just like a makeshift. And those are the ones that usually are not true to standards. Anyway, we've been talking a lot about the fire, actually, but that's because there's a lot to be said. But then again, you get tired. When you talk and talk and talk and the same things keep recurring, happening again, it's like a vicious cycle. But we talk in the hope that some way, somehow, there has got to be a change. Well, we say that Ghanaians voted for change, right? Well, let's see that change happen. Let me take a very quick break. This is Editors Forum. I'm here with Fred Chidi. Kojo Youngson is unable to join us. It looks, of course, from the time. But we've also had Kojo Meinu, my colleague here, who has been on the ground covering the story, share with us his own experience, his own emotions as well. When we return from that break, we'll go to Kumasi, where on Friday there was a flood, and that flood resulted in the death, we understand, of about 6 people. Erastus has the story, but let's come back after this break. You're welcome back to the show. Like I said, we're going to dedicate a few minutes for your calls. We put that number out there. It's 03022116991. 03022116992. So those are the two numbers. If you have any pressing information that we should know, why don't you give us a call? In the meantime, let's go over to Kumasi. On Friday, the downpour, we understand, scattered a lot of properties here and there, actually cost lives. Erastus Asaridonko has that story.
Life was lost here. A young man in his late 30s, we understand, one Nanasari. Now the water level rose up to this level on the wall, and he was swimming from this end, according to eyewitnesses, towards this end. Why he was swimming in the flood waters, they say they do not know, because he was not rescuing anybody. So he kept swimming and swimming and swimming towards the side. So he kept swimming, and at this point they realized he was in trouble because he was drifting towards the side. This woman saw it all. Mama, send out huno na udru hano na ujware free haba to udru han send out huno.
Yemi huno ne say ensuo ne ba sa na ne tete adua yi so. Ne nsuo na yiri pa nti oduru hano na me friend say na asale. Ti wa wo hwe nyame anim nsuo ayiri we wo koye. Wa muame nti ne otuto nsuo ne mu kosa nti oduru ha say ne na to no. Eto ne fa ka na chi. Nti ya huni biem. Ya huni ne nsuo ne de ayiri pa ye hu bi kura da e wa ha kura say da. Ye hu bi kura da. Me gina ma na de da me ya. Tina na asale tutom na oduru he nyina me na me friend say na asale ba bia wo koyi de emwa nti bla me kan che se wa mfi mi kura wo kaka wo se onana bi de otwa nsuo bi mpoa so one de nsuo bi antimi mfa no nti won de ye de nim se agro bi no odie ampa oduru ha se ye hu na asale biem nsuo ne tie na boys no kohwe no wo hye gotani mu ho no mo twen no mo de no ko nti police fo na abefa na mo de no ko tina na asale wo ni de
So in effect, what she's telling me is that at this point, she rather called out to him that Nana Sari, you should stop what you're doing and come back. And his response was...
And essentially, he did not, and he lost his life, sadly. Erastus is on the line. Let's let him bring us up to speed on what has happened since then, because we understand it's more than just Nana Sari who died. Erastus.
Well, what we just witnessed was the flooding incident at the Buafa Menchia, where one person died. But what we are talking about now is Amadan, is a farming community in the Ashumampunua district, where the water levels rose after Friday's rain, and just some 13 people who were crossing over to their farm, the canoe they were in capsized. 7 of them managed to swim ashore, and 6 of the occupants are now missing. In fact, we have one woman whose body was retrieved yesterday after rescue effort. Now we have 3 children, an 8-month-old baby, a 4-year-old child, and a 10-year-old child, where they have 2 mothers still missing in the waters. 30 divers went into the river again today. They've been there since morning. They've not been able to retrieve a single body. They've combed all the waters where the canoe capsized. They can't find any body at all. And so now they are spreading their tentacles to other villages along that route to see if they will be able to retrieve the body. Now what they are requesting for are life jackets, because they cannot stay afloat for a long time on the surface of the river. It's a wide area. So they are requesting support from NADMO to be able to get life jackets to continue the search tomorrow.
Wow. So as we speak, at least one body has been recovered. So we're looking at 5 people that are yet unaccounted for.
Exactly. This is a woman known as Ramatu. She's over 50 years. And that is what they are doing now. They've recovered just one body after a series of libations poured and several diving attempts. Now they are requesting for support to be able to assess the nearby village, whether the bodies have been logged somewhere inside that. But let me also state that this rescue effort is also being hampered by pits that have been dug by illegal miners in the past. So the waters have filled those pits, and it's difficult and very dangerous for the divers at the moment.
Sounds like a very bad situation we have on our hand there. But what are authorities in the town saying about this situation, Erastus?
Well, so far we've seen the sports minister, Honorable Esiama, who is the MP for the area. He has been there today to commiserate with the affected families. But aside that, we are yet to see the regional minister, for example, go to the area and try to bring in support. And that is what the drivers are saying, that they need support from the regional level. They need NADMO officials to come in with life jackets and other resources to be able to help them. They are now being supported by the Small Scale Miners Association, and they think that the support is not enough at the moment.
And are there any superstitious, thoughts about the people in the community? Because then it makes it even more difficult for them to begin to look at maybe their own actions and inactions towards the avoidance of such tragedies. I mean, we heard the woman you spoke to about Anasari trying to explain something quite spiritually or superstitiously there. I don't know if there has been any such talk generally in the community. And of course, we're looking at how that hampers the understanding of your own actions and inactions. I mean, on the physical level, that could cause such disasters.
Well, what you're referring to, the earlier video played and the current one being shown, these are two different incidents.
Okay.
What we're showing now is the airport roundabout flood.
Okay.
And the one we showed earlier is the floods at Buakwa, Mensia, who claimed one life. This community is very far from what we are talking about. This is another community close to the river Oping, and these are people who farm on the other side of the river Oping, so they use canoes to cross the river. And when it rains, the water levels rose up to a certain level that they could not maneuver their way well, and the canoe capsized. And so we are talking about a whole community, 13 people, 7 of them escaped, and 6 of them, women and children, are missing at the moment.
So if you should put together the figures, what are we looking at? How many people are unaccounted for at the moment? About 8?
Unaccounted for 6.
6.
We have retrieved the body of, we are left with 5, 3 children, 2 women at the moment.
Has it been raining since the last you reported this incident, Friday?
It's been raining since, and even in the river where we were able to stand yesterday to film the rescue effort, we cannot even stand there at the moment. The whole place is covered, and the waters keep rising because it's been raining since morning. So it's hampering rescue efforts still.
Well, Erastus, before I let you go, tell us about what we should be expecting from Kumasi. Of course, this is Editors Forum, so we like to look at all the journalistic angles to the story. Looking ahead into the week, what are we to expect from some of these stories? Are we to expect authorities getting more maybe proactive with the rescue work, or will you say they already done that? What should we expect by way of the floods and the havoc that is wreaked in the region?
In fact, we are yet to see a visible effort by the various assemblies at the moment in terms of delivering relief items or going to the ground to provide infrastructure support. There are places where bridges need to be reconstructed and paths need to be cleared for the coming days, since we are expecting more rain. But we are yet to see that. In fact, I have heard that the Ashanti Regional Minister and some security commanders went around, but we are yet to see action from them in the coming weeks on what should be done to forestall or even mitigate the impact of floods.
Why also I'll let you go. Why don't I find out from you what also the media in the Ashanti region have been reporting on what's happening here in Accra, the Gaza explosion?
Well, it's all over social media. In fact, all the media stations here in Kumasi are reporting. It was all over the platforms, social media platforms in the Ashanti region. It was the talk of town, though it's far away from Kumasi. A lot of the media houses are also commenting on that because they have relatives over there, and they are also looking for government not paying lip service to what has been happening, but go ahead and provide solutions to end it all once and for all. So many of them welcome what the Vice President has been saying, and they are hoping that this is not going to be a 9-day wonder, but they will go ahead to implement hard policies to forestall future occurrences.
The two, would you say it's more of a do-fiasem sort of attitude? Because look, we also have our own issues to deal with, our own flooding issues to deal with. So perhaps it's not too much of we don't have too much of space to focus much more on what's happening in Accra. Is that sense something that you could speak to there as well?
Well, a lot of talk has been on the floods, for example, but then there are also people who are also commenting largely on what has happened in Accra because they can relate. Don't forget that there was a gas explosion in Kumasi, precisely Asokwa, about 5 years ago, which injured many people. About 179 received severe burns. 3 people died. And so people are relating to it. There are still gas stations like the one at Amlaga Junction in a very popular place where commercial vehicles fly. And so there are people who are raising concerns about the siting of these fuel stations and gas stations and even enforcing regulations on their use. Okay. And so that has also dominated the airwaves.
Erastus, thank you so much. We hope that in the week, in the news week that's coming ahead for us, there'll be less of disasters to report on, and that there will be a lot more of proactive measures that will stop people from dying. Some of these deaths are quite preventive. Erastus Saridonko with our sister station in Kumasi. Love, let's take your wrap-up comments on the Kumasi incident. It's like, sounds pretty much like the flood and the fire disaster, because except that it happens to be in different regions at this point.
Yeah, but in the case of Accra, it happened within the time that it was raining also. You know, when it happened yesterday, it was
raining, yeah,
it was raining.
Actually.
And so that coincidence is quite striking to me, especially taking my mind back to the 3rd June disaster 2015, which also saw rain and fire, you know, which have become bedfellows. But for me, what's important is for people to know that we are in a minor rainy season. And so there is rain in the horizon, a lot of rain in the horizon. And it brings my mind again to what the Meteorological Service of Ghana should be doing. Are they forecasting the rain? Do they have the capacity to be able to forecast rain?
But they are forecasting.
They're forecasting.
Yes.
Okay?
Except that what appears to happen is that they've lost, Ghanaians seem to have lost confidence in them. So even when they put it out there, people don't seem to believe it.
So, I mean, those of us in the media, we should help the Meteorological Service to send the information out that there will be rain. But what is still missing with meteo people is how long or what the intensity of the rain we are not able to know. Because just a couple of days ago, there was flooding in Accra, and it was so surprising. The rain came down just about 2 hours. The whole of the city was flooded again. Apparently because, like you mentioned in that report with Erastus, our own actions and inactions. We're still doing the same old things, throwing rubbish in the gutters and so on. And that is what is swallowing us up.
So we can push the government to do what we voted for them to do, but we also have a responsibility in keeping ourselves clean. I mean, cleanliness. We shouldn't even be having this conversation in the 21st century. Unfortunately, we have. And that is why we need to keep our eyes on it. But nonetheless...
Before you wrap up, there is one thing that I observed, actually 2 observations that I made. There is some level of homelessness going on in Ghana.
Okay, if we can wrap that up, because
I'll do it quickly. When you're driving early in the morning around the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, underneath the overpass, you will see tons of people sleeping rough under the overpass, and I'm wondering what we can do to help those people, or whether we can remove them. But it's another disaster waiting to happen.
Waiting to happen. Hopefully not, but we'll have to give that time, maybe another time on the editors forum. Fred Chidi, of course, he's been stayed a long time in this field of journalism. Now he likes to just be referred to as a journalist, but he's done quite a lot in the past, and he's been my guest. Kojo Jansen actually was supposed to join us, but for some circumstances beyond his control, he was unable to. Kojo Menu was here as well. On camera for me today is Makafui Gilbert Azu, and of course, you are forcing my director at the moment, Dennis, on sound, and Gomez wasn't doing much, I can say. I saw him sitting somewhere, but he's a part of our, one of our key. Yes, I said that on air. My name is Gifty Andopia. This is Editors Forum. We hope that we won't be recording many more deaths. And for those of you who have been affected, we pray that God stays with you and gives you the strength to move on. Most importantly, we pray for the wisdom to deal with it so it doesn't recur. Thank you very much for your time.